Alright everyone, hope you're all doing well, hope you're all keeping safe. With only a couple of weeks left, with nothing really new being added to the end of Season 4, I wanted to give my closing thoughts on this season, TU12 and TU12.1. I will be doing a follow-up video of my Year 2 closing thoughts at some point soon as well. So, all in all, this season and title updates had some really good things, right? But some extremely bad things as well. So let's get into it. Drop a like and subscribe to stay up to date with all the videos, and let's start. In order to collect my thoughts properly, I've decided to separate Title Update 12 and Season 4, starting with TU12, addressing them on their own without any overlap. That way you and I can clearly see where I'm landing with my compliments or criticism. So perhaps the biggest addition with TU12 was the introduction of the optimization station. Now it's possible you could say this was a reissue, because we did have this back in the Division, but it was new here in the sequel. My initial concern was this new feature would replace a lot of the gear grind, something it did back in the Division, but after the PTS went live it was obvious that this was something Massive didn't want to happen here with Season 4. The costs of optimization were extremely high, with multiple currencies, most of which are exclusive to specific activities. Almost immediately, PTS feedback was strongly against the high costs, but Massive, who previously said they didn't want this feature to replace the gear grind, true to their word, released Title Update 12 without any changes to this particular feedback. They did include a stack of random weapon or gear currencies to drop from rogue agents as one change. Naturally, after a couple of weeks of live feedback about high costs, Massive agreed to make deductions, and with Title Update 12.1 they reduced the optimization costs by 75% and the material crafting recipes by 50%. The optimization station, for me personally, has been a triumph, even after TU12.1, to my surprise. As I said, I had concerns this feature would completely trivialize the gear game, but actually I think the generosity was very much needed. For me, when it comes to generosity and player engagement, it comes back to two questions. Do you want players to leave your game frustrated because they couldn't get the gear or the roles that they wanted? Or do you want players to leave your game happy they got what they wanted? It's kind of ridiculous to think that you can entertain players all of the time, and it's widely accepted that players are gonna leave, right? I think that's pretty obvious. So as a developer you need to make a choice. Here we're in the final season and we've been farming level 40 gear and rolls for 9 months. Most people have probably got the gear that they want, but most people probably don't have the max rolls they want. Why? The chance of you getting the right gear, the right rolls, and then the max stats is extremely low, even with recalibration. And that was my position. I had the gear, the build, but nothing that I had was actually max rolled because, you know, the stats are against you. The optimization station gave me the ability to make that possible. Sure, it was at a significant investment initially, something I wasn't all that bothered about. But now that we have TU12.1, the investment is significantly reduced, and I've nearly, fully optimized the build that I've been using since Season 4 started, and it feels really, really good. And what's also great is I know if I wanted to make another build, the optimization station means I can optimize that build quickly as well, and that does give me an incentive to go ahead and do that. It does incentivize me to actually play more, and I would say that this alone made me play TU12 and Season 4 more than any other season we've had so far. It's a great feature, and it was very much needed. As with every new title update and season comes new gear, new weapons and exotics. Here Massive decided to focus on skills, and this is reflected in the new stuff we got, which might be why this is easily my favourite title update to date in this respect. The new exotic assault rifle, the capacitor, is by far my favourite weapon in the game. It works perfectly with my DPS skill damage hybrid build, giving me an incredible amount of extra damage when fully procced, along with a huge amount of extra weapon damage. Waveform, the new exotic holster, is also really good, kind of best in slot for my build, along with the exotic shotgun Scorpio. What I think I like the most about these three exotics compared to previous ones is they feel like exotics to me. Massive have had an ethos with exotics here in the Division 2 to kind of deviate away from the power that we got in the Division, and instead make exotics more unique, with unique mechanics rather than just raw power. They wanted players to make builds around exotics rather than the other way around, and that was an issue they felt we had in the Division, where you could have any build and then just throw on the house SMG. With these, I think Massive got it completely right. Not only are these exotics unique and they require a specific playstyle to utilise their full power, but the power offered is above anything else in the game. The Capacitor is the best weapon and skill damage weapon in the game when you reach max stacks, something that's really easy to do and easy to maintain. The same for the Waveform as well as Scorpio. These are exotics that feel like exotics. The new gear brand Empress International is best in slot for skill builds because of the skill efficiency talent. Previously only found on the Memento backpack, this talent, which gives you 10% on every skill attribute, damage, haste, duration, etc., is just best in slot, and importantly synergizes with the exotics that they introduced as well. The new named items are pretty good too, in particular Test Subject with Perfectly in Sync and the Emperor's Chest Piece, Caesar's Guard. The new Rigger gear set was, however, underwhelming. Whilst I think the actual gear set idea is fine, the power of this gear set is just overshadowed by better or high-end skill builds. A buff to this gear set is needed for it to be a viable option going forward. The Summit got some new improvements and additions with this update. 15 new commendations were added with some vanity rewards, which is cool. Summit challenges were added, rewarding you with optimization and recalibration materials, along with experience and other things as well. We got new gameplay improvements as well, with every 3rd floor and 10th floor giving you rewards. A new objective type and variance was added as well, along with an increase in the frequency of rogue encounters. These additions, they're fine. They improve the experience in the Summit. Personally though, I don't really like this activity for plenty of reasons that I've outlined in numerous videos before, and until this mode is fully fleshed out, I don't imagine I will be going back there for fun. Quality of life additions included the new functionality to pick up the turret skill, the always show mask option, and mod filtering. All of these things, they're good quality of life improvements, particularly the turret pickup functionality for me. As a skill that I always use, this has just made my life much easier, so good job here. The other major new feature with Title Update 12 was the Global Event Vendor. Again, you could argue this was a reissue like the Optimization Station because this was a feature we had back in the Division. But aside from that point, this was great, and it leads on to Season 4 and the global events that I want to talk about. This new vendor allows you to take the stars we earn from completing global event challenges or leveling up during a global event to this vendor and spend them on a cache. 3 stars, you get a recal cache or a brand resource cache. 5 stars, a named item or season cache. 12 stars, an optimization cache, and then 20 stars, you can get yourself an exotic cache. All of these caches will be valuable to players in some way or another, and it definitely encouraged me to spend more time interacting with each global event this season. I spent more time in global events this time around than ever before, knowing I could farm stars indefinitely and then spend them an unlimited amount of times, which felt great because in the background I'm always working on optimizing my gear, and this gave me another avenue to get those materials. Really glad to see this back. In terms of the global events, we only got one new one, the same formula used for previous seasons. However, this time around, Massive had made some changes to global events in order to make the player experience better. Overall, the changes made these existing global events, the ones that we've been playing for the last kind of 9 months, they felt better than before, but it's still the same activity we've been playing 2 or 3 times over the last 9 months or so. So I still didn't really care all that much, especially because it's the same rewards as well. The one new global event, Golden Bullet, was by far the best global event to date. Some players were saying this could be the best global event in the franchise's history, something that I didn't agree with and covered in a video, but for sure, this event had something the others lacked. Easy mechanics that gave players a huge increase in power. It really scratched that power fantasy itch, something this game in particular rarely does. If we are getting more global events in the future, they need to take this event as a model and they need to build on it. If only we could have had 4 new global events that all met this high bar rather than the 3 recycled global events, it would have just made the whole experience that much better. I'd say at this point in the video, I've been pretty positive about TE12 in Season 4, but there were 2 huge events that really disappointed me. One in particular, and you guys know what I'm going to say. First one, Codename Nightmare, or the Resident Evil apparel event. That was very, very underwhelming. We were promised a repurposed Kennedy College. This was scrapped by Massive, we were told, due to world issues, and instead it was just turned into an apparel event only. At first, when I heard about the repurposed Kennedy College not coming, I wasn't that bothered, but when the event actually went live, I think it needed some new content. It definitely needed this repurposed Kennedy College to kind of flesh it out and make it feel like an event. What we got instead were daily projects that required you to do 10 minutes of just ticking boxes, and then you're kind of done for the day. They're just really, really poor. It didn't make you want to play. The apparel itself was pretty cool. I've seen the video showing how a lot of the apparel is actually just reskins of apparel already in the game with different colours, but there were some unique items. The masks in particular were some of my favourites to date. We did get some new backpack trophies and arm patches as well, which were fine. It's not something that I'm all that bothered about, to be honest, guys, so there will be some of you guys that like that sort of stuff and you're going to have a different opinion, but for me, they've never really interested me. The thing is, to me, it didn't feel like an event at all, and that's the feeling I got when it went live, and that's how I feel right now as well. It was just an apparel event. It might be because I really didn't have any kind of history with Resident Evil. Some of you guys who love Resident Evil, I'm sure that you may have felt a bit different, but I think it all comes back to, it was just an apparel event, right? There was nothing else attached to it. If this repurposed Kennedy College had come as part of it, I'm sure I would have felt a different way. But because it didn't, then I don't feel a different way, and to me it was just another apparel event. Of course, the biggest disappointment was the fail-out manhunt encounter, the last manhunt of this year. What a shocking way to end the season. Fei Lao has been an essential character to the Division since day one. The only character left that I truly care about, and I'm sure that's the same for you guys. And like that, it was over. There was no cutscenes, the mission itself had no real changes to speak of either. The Bard and Schaefer fight had more to it. And I could make a whole rant video on how poor the ending was here, but I don't want to make this video too long. Of course, I did release the video where I played through the mission, and if you saw that video, you would have seen my disappointment at the end. It was just really, really poor. Embarrassing, actually. I do think we need an explanation here because Massive really dropped the ball at probably the most crucial time in the franchise history, and it has left me with a really sour taste in my mouth. This alone, for me, pretty much ruined my whole seasonal experience, which is a shame because, as I've said in this video and as you saw for the majority of this video, there's a lot of stuff here that I felt did a good job, but this really ruined it for me. So that's it for my closing thoughts on Title Update 12 and Season 4. Let me know what you thought of these in the comments down below. As I covered on Friday, we are getting Year 3 content in the near future. We don't know exactly when yet, but I will be covering it here for sure. Also, in a future video, I do want to cover some evidence that we are going back to the OG map for Year 3, back to the Division map. So, turn on notifications if you don't want to miss that video. With that said, thanks for watching, and until the next one, Epic out.